My name is Terry, and at 28 years old, can't you just disappear? My mom snapped. You ruined your brother's life. From now on, you are not part of this family. My dad added, I didn't argue. I just left 3 days later. They were at my door begging me to take them in. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. I guess I should have known better. But in our family, Christmas was still sacred. No matter how cold things got during the year, no matter what passive-aggressive things were said, on birthdays or ignored over group chats. December 24th always meant one thing. We gathered, we smiled. We ate too much honey-glazed ham, and we played nice. So I showed up like always, gifts in hand, 5 of them, carefully picked, thoughtfully wrapped. One for each my mom, my dad, my brother, his wife, and their baby. A high-end baby toy for my nephew. A vintage perfume bottle for my mom, in her favorite floral scent. A rare vinyl for my dad's collection. A personalized book on leadership for my brother, ironic in hindsight. And a spa gift certificate for his wife, who always looked 2 minutes from burnout. I spent hours picking each thing, paid for expedited shipping, wrapped them by hand, matching ribbon and all, because no matter what, I still believed showing up with love mattered. That morning I curled my hair, put on the sweater I knew my mom once said, made me less severe, and drove over with the heat on full blast, and this foolish flutter of hope in my chest. Maybe things weren't perfect, but they were still family right. It was snowing just barely, more of a decorative flurry than anything serious. When I pulled into their driveway, I could see the lights twinkling in the living room window. The golden retriever barked once from inside, familiar, almost warm. I rang the bell gifts stacked in my arms, like some kind of emotional offering. The door opened. My mom looked surprised, not in the, oh, you're here way, more like I was early to a party I wasn't invited to. She didn't smile behind her. I saw my brother, already sipping something from a crystal glass. His wife was holding the baby who had that wide-eyed, rubbery-cheeked look that makes you forget every grudge. For 2 seconds, I didn't even get a hello. Instead, my mom stepped forward and said it just like that. Can't you just disappear? I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I thought I misheard her. Or maybe she was trying to be dramatic. In that annoying, let's not ruin the holidays kind of way, what you ruined your brother's life. She snapped, voice louder now, slicing through the doorway, like it had been waiting all year to get out. She gestured back toward him like he was a monument. Do you even understand what you've done? What this year has cost him? Before I could respond, my dad appeared behind them, arms crossed like some angry mall security guard. And then came the line from now on. You are not part of this family. It was rehearsed too clean. He must have said it out loud to himself, a dozen times before today, waiting for the moment to deliver it. And it landed hard. I didn't say a word. Not because I was being stoic or noble or brave. I didn't say anything because I couldn't speak. My hands were still full. I stood there with 5 carefully wrapped gifts, and nowhere to set them down. My stomach clenched so tightly, it felt like I'd swallowed a fist. I thought of the baby toy, the soft blue wrapping paper, the handwritten tag. I thought of how I'd been here every year, since I was born, of how I used to sit by the fireplace and help hang stockings of the time. I accidentally spilled cranberry sauce all over the white tablecloth and cried for an hour, and my dad just laughed and told me. It was the most color that table had ever seen. But now I was a stranger with gifts they didn't want. So I nodded, not out of agreement, but because I needed to move to breathe. I turned around, walked back to my car, placed the gifts gently in the back seat, and drove away without looking in the rearview mirror. That night I didn't eat dinner. I just sat on the floor of my apartment with a mug of tea that went cold in my hands, and the sound of someone else's holiday joy. Leaking through my walls, I didn't cry. I wanted to God. I wanted to, but something inside me had snapped quietly, like a thread you didn't know was holding everything together. That was the night I realized something important. Sometimes the worst betrayal doesn't come from enemies, comes from the people who once taught you how to wrap a present, who signed their names next to yours on a holiday card, who raised you to believe love meant showing up, until they decided it didn't. And here's the part. One still can't believe I meant it. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just left because something in me knew. This wasn't the beginning of the end. It was just the beginning, when I was little. I used to think my parents had two sets of eyes. One for my brother Noah, bright proud, always searching for reasons to cheer, and one for me squinting, distant like they were still trying to figure out what. Exactly I was supposed to be. I wasn't loud, I wasn't messy, I didn't crash bikes or climb on counters, or need rescuing from anything. I was the quiet kid, always off to the side with a book or a project, trying not to ask for too much. Noah, on the other hand, was the center of the room, before he even walked into it, the kind of child people called a handful with a laugh. He was charming, reckless, and could talk his way out of just about anything. My mom called him her sunshine boy. My dad used to say that one's got spark me. I think they forgot I was in the room half the time. The pattern didn't change as we grew up, just got more expensive. Noah dropped out of college twice, switched majors more times than I can count. Every time. My parents acted like it was a thoughtful life pivot. He's just exploring his options. They'd say at least he's not giving up. When I graduated early and got my first real job, my mom's response was, "You should really wear more color. You always look so serious in black." I used to tell myself it didn't matter, that being good wasn't supposed to come with applause, but it wears you down after a while, being invisible until someone needs something, and they always needed something. So I kept my head down and built a life. I worked hard, saved money, and eventually helped start a small company with a few close friends. We were building something that helped law firms sort through all their paperwork faster, boring behind-the-scenes stuff. Nothing flashy, but it worked. My parents never asked what I did. They just said she's good with computers. Like I was a remote they didn't know how to program. Then Noah's wife got pregnant. Suddenly everything became urgent. He's ready to settle down now. He just needs something stable. Maybe you could help. What they meant was give him a job. So I did. It was supposed to be a short internship. Just a few weeks of shadowing. I brought him into my team, introduced him around, tried to make him feel welcome. He showed up late the first day, said traffic was bad, we work from home. By the second week, he was skipping meetings and making jokes during team calls about how I was so uptight for a little sister. He didn't even last the month. One day he just stopped logging in. No call, no thank you. The next time I saw him, he was on a beach in Mexico, shirtless, holding a coconut, posting on social media about big things coming soon. His wife was home with their newborn a week later. He posted a video tour of their new apartment, sleek modern, with a downtown skyline view, the kind of place that doesn't come cheap. He captioned it, "Invest in yourself. The world will catch up." My parents reposted it and wrote, "So proud I didn't ask questions. I didn't even roll my eyes. I just got back to work." We were in the middle of final testing for our product. We hadn't launched anything yet. Everything was still quiet, protected, the kind of thing you don't talk about outside your team. Because you know how fragile good ideas are. When they're still taking shape, that's why. When I got the email from a friend at another company, I nearly dropped my coffee. She just wrote, "Thought this looked familiar," and attached a flyer. I clicked, not expecting much, and there was a press release from a competitor. They were launching a new product, something to help lawyers organize and review documents faster. Same concept, same layout, same talking points. Even the screenshots look like ours, like someone had taken our work, added a new logo, and called it their own. At first, I thought I was being paranoid. There are only so many ways you can make a software. Dashboard looked clean. But then I saw a visual flowchart, a structure I'd spent weeks designing, one that wasn't standard in the industry. It was mine. No one outside our company had access to that material. We hadn't shared it publicly. We hadn't even demoed it yet. It was ours, and someone had taken it. There were only a handful of people who had access to our early stage files. I didn't want to think about it, didn't want to make that leap, but the timeline was too neat. The similarities were too precise, and I had let Noah into our system. I hadn't even thought to restrict his access. When he joined, it was supposed to be temporary, unpaid basic observation, but I hadn't locked down the folders. I hadn't imagined I'd need to. That night I sat in my apartment staring at the flyer for what felt like hours. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I just felt hollow, like someone had scooped out the middle of me and left the shell behind. I wanted to believe it was a coincidence, that I was jumping to conclusions, that there was some other explanation, but I knew better and I hadn't even told anyone yet. Not Grandpa, not my friends, not even myself out loud. It was December 23rd. I was supposed to leave for Christmas Eve dinner. In the morning, I'd already wrapped the presents, one for each of them, including a soft toy for Noah's baby. That I'd ordered months ago, back when I still believed I was part of this family. I looked at the box sitting by the door and wondered if I'd still go, because part of me, the part that had always kept showing up, still wanted to believe I was wrong, that maybe this time I'd walk into a house where I wouldn't have to earn my place, that maybe they'd finally see me. By the time I showed up for Christmas, I hadn't seen any proof, not the receipts, not the emails, not the confirmation, that my brother had taken something from me and sold it like it was his to give. But I'd asked our company lawyer to look into it, quietly, just in case. Turns out, just in case was about to blow up my entire holiday, what I didn't know that morning. Gift bags clutched in my hands, snow slushing up the back of my boots. Was that? Our lawyer had already reached out to the competitor. Just a polite legal heads up. Nothing nuclear yet, but it didn't stay polite for long, because the competitor, as it turns out, took intellectual property theft pretty seriously. They'd reached out to Noah and Noah. Being Noah didn't call to come clean. He ran to our parents first, wailing about how I was trying to ruin him, how I'd always been jealous, how I'd hacked his business plans and turned it into a legal mess. So when I showed up with hand-picked gifts, real ones, not regifted candles or Amazon gift cards, I walked into a storm that had been brewing. Behind my back, can't you just disappear? My mom snapped before I even got both boots off, and my dad, bless his consistently spineless heart, added from now on, "You are not part of this family." I didn't say a word, just turned, walked back to the car, and drove off with the presents still in the trunk. I ate dinner alone that night, leftover pad thai and a glass of wine. The wine was okay, the pad thai. Not so much 3 days later. The confirmation came in like a slow-motion car crash. Our lawyer called, and didn't even try to soften the blow. Yes, Terry. He downloaded everything source code, internal notes, diagrams, some of it watermarked. He sold the entire package to a competitor for $350,000. I said nothing, she kept talking. He claimed he developed it himself and hired a freelance team to build it. What he didn't know, of course, is that your product is patented in your name. She paused. They're shutting down the project effective immediately, and they're furious. They want their money back plus damages. I thanked her and hung up. Then I sat on the floor of my tiny apartment and stared at the wall for about 10 minutes. I don't remember breathing. Noah had stolen from me, but worse than that. He dragged my name through the dirt to cover it, and our parents had bought it. When the phone rang again, I already knew who it was. "Eliana," she said, in the same tone she used when I forgot to send a birthday card. To her bridge partner, I heard from Noah. He's struggling. Struggling. That was the word she used. Not stealing. Not lying. Struggling. "You need to understand," she continued. "He was under pressure with the baby, the rent, trying to build a future for his family." I almost laughed. I didn't. "And you went and made things worse," she said. "You should have come to us instead of involving lawyers." "I blinked, you mean. Instead of protecting the thing I spent years building." I said calmly, "That's not the point." She snapped. "You always do this. You make everything about you." I hung up, not in a rage, not for drama, just hung up like ending a bad movie halfway through. And then I stopped everything. The monthly payments. I'd been sending them to help with their mortgage gone. The quiet Venmo transfers to Noah. When he'd claim his card got blocked again, done. I didn't send a letter. I didn't make a speech. I just stopped. There's a certain silence that settles in. After you stop trying to earn people's love, not the peaceful kind, not at first, the kind that rattles, like a fridge that's just lost power, the quiet reminds you of how loud everything used to be. I let the quiet stay, and I got back to work. 3 days after Christmas, I opened my front door to find my entire family, standing on the porch with suitcases. Noah had the nerve to look annoyed, like I'd made them wait too long. My mom had that brittle smile she used when trying to appear reasonable for the neighbors, and my dad, while he was holding a crock pot, which I guess was his idea of a peace offering. Just for a few days, Mom said breezily, stepping forward like this was a hotel. Check in the house is being remodeled, to get it ready to sell. I blinked. You're selling the house. She nodded, like I should be proud. We've got a staging company coming in. Fresh paint, new fixtures. That sort of thing. We can't stay there while they work. Obviously, it's chaos. Noah rolled his eyes. It's literally your fault we have to do this, and we thought Mom continued ignoring him. It just made sense to come here. You've got space and well. You owe your family. She didn't even ask. He just walked in. Dad followed, still clutching the crock pot. Noah brought up the rear, muttering something about needing Wi-Fi. I stood frozen, watching them scatter into my living room. Like they belonged. You can't be serious. I finally said. Noah plopped onto my couch. You ruined everything, Terry. This is the least you can do. I felt like something snapped inside. Not the dramatic throw a vase kind of snap, just clarity. I turned to my mom. You've spent my whole life making excuses for him. Every mistake, every lie, every time he burned something down. You found a way to blame someone else. Usually me. He stiffened. You didn't protect him? I said quietly. You enabled him. Her mouth opened, then shut again, the kind of silence that only comes when someone's never had to answer for anything. I stepped outside, pulled out my phone, and called security. They were out in 10 minutes. No cuffs, no yelling, just a polite but firm escort out of my apartment. My mom sputtered the whole time. My dad looked embarrassed. Noah accused me of letting strangers manhandle his baby's stuff. The baby wasn't even there. Neither was Noah's wife. Made me wonder if they are still together. When the door clicked shut behind them, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. That was the last time I saw them in person. Months passed. Word eventually reached me through the grapevine. They'd sold the house. Use the money to repay the competitor and avoid criminal charges for Noah. I'm sure my parents called it a family sacrifice. I call it enabling. They did it, and it cost them everything. They moved in to rent it. Noah's wife left him soon after. I heard it wasn't just the lawsuit. She found messages from his little solo vacation, messages he'd forgotten to delete. I didn't smile when I heard that. But I didn't cry either one afternoon in early spring. I got a call from Grandpa's lawyer. My grandfather was still alive, sharp as ever. He was 96 and still insisted on mowing his own lawn, though the neighborhood hoy kept warning him. Terry, the lawyer, said, Your grandfather asked me to inform you that he has updated his will. Everything will now go to you. I blinked everything. Everything. I wonder if my parents were counting on that inheritance when they decided to sell their house. To pay off Noah's debt, I'm sure they were. It almost made me feel sorry for them, almost. I think. My grandfather was the only one who ever really saw me. When I was 9 and learning to code, he was the one who gave me his old laptop and said, build something. Not be careful, not go play outside. Built, he saw what my parents refused to. Apparently, he still did a few weeks later. I was sitting on my new balcony, small, sunny mine. When my phone rang, the caller ID made my stomach twist. Noah's ex-wife. I let it ring once. Twice, then I answered. Hey, she said. I'm not calling for money. I laughed short and sharp. That's a first. I wanted you to know I left him for good. I found out what he did, all of it. And I'm sorry I didn't say anything. I don't expect anything from you, she continued. I just wanted to say, if you ever want to be in the baby's life, I'd really like that it hit harder than I expected. Not the offer. The fact that she wasn't asking for anything. Just opening a door, I'll think about it. I said, and I meant it. When I hung up, I walked back inside and looked at the wall in my office. On one side, the original patent confirmation. Next to it, a photo of my grandfather and me, both squinting into the sun. Wires and tools spread across the kitchen table. Below that, one more thing. A note, you will build what no one sees today. And I did. Thank you for listening. What did you think about this story? Did Terry do the right thing by walking away, or should she have handled things differently? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed listening. Please like, share, and subscribe for more stories. just like this one.